Alright guys, Bitcoin just got a big rejection at a very important level. And I called this move almost exactly in the previous video. Let me show you exactly what's going on. So if you watched the previous video, you know we called this move almost exactly. After Bitcoin hit our first take profit target at the value area high, on that first week it traded sideways for a while. And we said that the price was holding up while the RSI on both the 2-hour and also on the 4-hour time frames was pushing lower, which formed a clear bullish divergence on multiple time frames. And we also said that the liquidity level at this recent high was a very important target and was very likely to get swept, and that it could happen from there with those bullish divergences in play. And that is exactly what happened. Bitcoin pushed up and swept that liquidity level to the exact dollar. I'm not even joking, look at this right here. And right now we are seeing a clean rejection back down from that level. Now I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. I did say I would be shorting this level if it gets hit, and it did get hit, but it happened during the time I was in a state of deep sleep, so I wasn't able to enter that short. But thankfully, I'm still in my Solana short, which is of course in a very nice profit, with one take profit already taken. And if you watched the previous videos, you remember I showed you this rising wedge that Bitcoin has been trading in for the past 2 weeks. And as you know, the rising wedge is a slightly more bearish pattern with a higher probability of breaking to the downside. And what you're going to see right here is that after Bitcoin swept that liquidity level and got rejected, it is now trying to break below the bottom trend line of the wedge. As of right now, even trading slightly below it. So if this is not a fake out, we are looking at much lower targets from here. And later in the video, I'm also going to show you exactly the targets of that breakdown and also slightly more bullish scenario that Bitcoin could still see in the short term. But before I do that, I would really appreciate it if you guys are finding this helpful to like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next one. Alright, let's get back to the video. Now if you open up the RSI, right at the top where Bitcoin swept that liquidity level, what you're going to see is that Bitcoin made a slight higher high on the price, but the RSI made a lower high. So that is a bearish divergence right at the exact top. Funny how things line up. And now look at this. If we zoom in a little, you're going to see two liquidity levels that Bitcoin left behind recently. One on this week right here and another one slightly below it on this week. And as you can see, Bitcoin just swept both of them on the way down. And here's something very interesting. I think 2 videos back we talked about another very important level that Bitcoin hadn't hit just yet at that time. And if we take the Fib retracement and drag it from the bottom of this move to the top, what you're going to see is that the golden pocket, the 618 to 65 Fib zone, sits right below those 2 liquidity levels. And Bitcoin just hit it to the exact dollar right now. So in my opinion, this entire zone is likely the last hope for Bitcoin before we see much lower targets. And it is also where Bitcoin could potentially see a bounce for one more push to the upside. And if we open up the RSI again on the 4-hour time frame, what you're going to see is that Bitcoin is potentially forming a bullish divergence right at these levels. So if Bitcoin does bottom here at the golden pocket or even a little lower, that bullish divergence would confirm. And that gives us another reason to expect a bounce from this area. And another interesting thing, in the previous video we talked about all the liquidations that had built up above the recent high. And now even though Bitcoin went up and swept that high, it did not sweep all the liquidations that were stacked above. And on top of that, even more short liquidations have stacked up since then. Look at this right here. 196 million, 195 million in short liquidations. So we have major short liquidations sitting between 79.4 thousand and 80,000 US dollars. And if we zoom out a little to the 2-week chart, same exact story. Major liquidations sitting right above this recent high. So Bitcoin could definitely go up and erect all the shorters one more time before actually pushing lower. And if that does happen, Bitcoin would also hit the top of the ascending channel that we have been talking about for so long, or at least come very close to it. Now if this is not a fake out and we are actually looking at a real breakout to the downside, then we are looking at much lower targets from here. And let me show you exactly where Bitcoin could be heading. If we measure the widest part of the rising wedge and put a vertical line at the breakout point, what you're going to see is that the wedge target lines up almost perfectly with this liquidity level all the way down at 70.4 thousand US dollars. So that is definitely a major target to the downside. And it's not just the wedge target and the liquidity level. If we take the Fib retracement and drag it from the exact bottom of this entire move all the way to the top, what you're going to see is that the golden pocket falls right on top of those exact same levels. So we have three important things stacking up at the same area: the wedge target, the major liquidity level, and the golden pocket. That makes this whole zone a very clear target and a very important support zone if Bitcoin does completely break down from here. So that's where we are. Bitcoin swapped the liquidity to the exact dollar and got rejected and is now sitting at the golden pocket. Either we get one more push up to grab those shorts above, or we break down with the major target at around 70.4 thousand US dollars. As always, this is not financial advice and manage your risk. Let me know in the comments what you guys think, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.